Hello everyone and welcome back to our reading of Ghosts from the Great Mystery series. Today's chapter, Phantom Replays. Let's get started. Some of the most dramatic ghosts are those which seem to reenact events from the past. Such phantoms appear from nowhere, perform certain actions, and then vanish. Each time they are seen, the ghosts behave in exactly the same way. They never react to living people, nor to their surroundings. It is as if a three-dimensional video recording was being played. On the night of January 12th, 1913, a man was murdered beside a lamp post in Caljujuri, a street in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Several weeks later, the ghost of the man was seen to walk along the street to the fatal lamppost, turn around in terror, and then vanish. Many people claim to have witnessed the ghost retracing its final steps in life. Each time it is seen, the ghost performs exactly the same actions. A similar reenactment of death is occasionally seen at the Tower of London. In 1541, the Countess of Salisbury, who was innocent of the crimes with which she was charged, was taken to the tower to be executed. She was dragged, screaming, to the scaffold, but broke free from her guards and tried to escape. The executioner ran after her, swiping at her with his axe. After some minutes, the Countess was caught and beheaded on the spot. Several startled visitors and residents at the tower have seen this terrible event played out by ghosts of the Countess and her ruthless guards. Not all victims of beheadings are seen at the site of their execution. Anne Boleyn, Queen of Henry VIII and one of the most famous women to die on the scaffold, has been seen at her childhood home of Blickling Hall. Sometimes she is seen quietly strolling in the gardens. On other occasions, Anne is seen as she was carried from the scaffold, with her head tucked underneath her arm. Equally dramatic were the ghosts that terrified villagers in Warwickshire 300 years ago. In this case, thousands of phantoms appeared at once. On October 23rd, 1643, a battle was fought at Edge Hill between Cavaliers and Roundheads during the English Civil War. About a month after the battle, two shepherds were amazed to see a second battle taking place on the same site. They fled, but found out later that no soldiers were close by. On Christmas Eve, the ghostly soldiers returned to fight again. This time witnesses realized that they were watching a phantom replay of the Battle of October 23rd. When King Charles learnt of the ghosts, he sent a team of investigators to discover the truth. Not only did these men, led by Sir Lewis Kirk, interview witnesses, they even saw the phantom battle themselves. One of the team, who had fought in the battle, recognized many men who had died that day. More amazingly, he noticed the ghosts of men who had survived and still lived. After replaying itself several more times, the battle vanished, never to be seen again. Perhaps the most well-known phantom replay involving a famous person is that which occurred in the White House, the official residence of the President of the USA. The ghost of the great President Abraham Lincoln has been seen walking the corridors and watching what has been going on. The wife of President Franklin Roosevelt, Eleanor, was in her study working late one night when the maid, Mary Eben, burst in, obviously terrified by something. She said, "He's up there, sitting on the edge of the bed, taking off his boots." When asked who he was, Eben replied, "Mr. Lincoln." Not long after that, Mrs. Roosevelt came across someone else with a similar experience. While Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands was staying at the White House, she was awakened one night by a knock at her bedroom door. She opened the door to find none other than Abraham Lincoln staring at her. She fainted with the shock of it. Some people think that President Lincoln's ghost was reenacting one of the more traumatic moments of his stay in the White House. The type of ghost that simply recreates a scene from the past can be very disturbing for those who see them, but the phantoms take no notice of the living witness. They continue to repeat their actions time and again. This fact has led some investigators to suggest an explanation for these ghosts. It has been observed that such replays are usually of dramatic and highly emotional events, often the moment of death. It is suggested that such strong emotions release some kind of force, often called psychic energy. This psychic energy may be absorbed by the surroundings and remain long after the event. It has been argued that some future event might trigger a release of this energy, which emerges in the form of a phantom replay. Evidence supporting this idea can be found in many reports of phantoms. It might be expected that psychic energy would fade over a period of years. Some ghosts do seem to be seen less clearly or less often as time passes. For instance, one house was haunted in the 18th century by a woman dressed in red. In the 19th century, witnesses said the phantom wore a pink dress. Some years later, the ghost appeared in a white dress. By 1971, only a faint sound of footsteps remained. It seems that the clarity of the ghost faded with the years. Well, this is very fascinating. Phantom replays. Have you ever seen such a thing? Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you next time. See ya!